All these guys certified. I'm in Houston with my kind. You got walk, you know I want it. Sip every line till I'm fried. Having back-to-back shows. So many racks on me right now. Still fuck with them basic hoes. Matter of fact, I'm with one on right now.
Yeah, we can hear you, brother. How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. How you doing? Good.
Hanging in there.
Well, we're glad to have you on, Billy. We want to first thank you for coming on and excited to get talk with you and find out some more about your career and stuff.
For sure. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, thank you for accepting that invite, and we're very glad to have you on as well. And obviously, we loved watching you race and your whole entire career, and obviously, you're a record holder as well, so that's pretty cool too.
For sure.
Yeah. So, what really got you into racing, and how did it really start?
I think before racing, I just liked anything and everything with a motor, whether it was riding my grandfather's ride-on mower or snowmobiles. If it had a motor and went fast, I liked it.
That's pretty much me as well.
Pretty much as a kid, like all my toys were like Hot Wheels and anything car related, and got into riding dirt bikes when I was 5 years old. And by the time I was 13, I wanted to race, but my mom didn't really want me to race motorcycles. So instead, I got into go-karts because that was quite a bit safer. And then just kind of went from there, working my way up the ranks.
Right, which I used to race dirt go-karts as well. I started, my dad used to race and everything, and I really had to step away from it with me being a senior in high school this year and so close to graduation and everything. So now we just started the racing media business where we can still stay involved in the racing world. And
that's same with me. I raced WKA, did shifter carts and stuff, but I didn't make it to schools or anything, but I still have road courses were something I found as a real natural thing to me. I was able to really, the flow of a road course seemed to really fit my style of racing. And so that's what I've always enjoyed, is road courses.
Oh, definitely. I was mostly road course as well. And then later in my career, I did one NASCAR race on an oval. But pretty much my whole career has been road racing, endurance racing, and started in go-karts like yourselves and like so many other people. So it's just such a great sport, difficult to get into, but a lot of fun and awesome to see you guys taking that motorsports passion and turning it into this business and doing this.
Right, which we saw you at Daytona as well. We were actually videoing for Sam Paley and MMR, and we were going to see you, but you were in the middle of a conversation, so we were like, well, we don't want to interrupt. So,
well, I'm always in conversations and working, but next time just come on up and introduce yourselves. It would be great to see you guys or any of the followers here. Like often at those IMSA races, things can be quite busy, but the whole paddock, everybody is just so welcoming, and it's such a great series that unlike some of the other sports that as fans you can't get close to the drivers or the cars, IMSA you can just come right up to the cars, meet the drivers, meet the crews, see the cars, and it's just such a great place to be a competitor and great for the fans as well.
Right. That's one of the main reasons why we love it.
Oh, absolutely.
If we really had to pick a specific area of racing to focus on, it more likely be IMSA and WEC because of that open to fan experience and everything. But we'll go ahead and move on to our next question for you here. You were talking about your time with racing and IMSA, WEC, and NASCAR. How was your time with Ford racing for them?
Oh, it's been amazing. Like most of my career has been driving Fords, mostly Mustangs, and definitely is a brand that has meant a lot to me and has done a lot for me throughout my career. And started off racing with Jack Roush Jr. in the now Michelin Pilot Challenge Series. But through that, I had a bunch of NASCAR opportunities, raced in 7 Xfinity races, 1 Cup race, driving for Richard Petty, which was amazing. Actually driving his number 43 at Sonoma. And then to be a part of the Ford GT program as one of the main development drivers with Scott Maxwell for Multimatic, and winning the championship with Scott and Multimatic in the GS class in 2016. And then working on all sorts of production cars like the Shelby GT350, GT500, Ford GT. It was really fun to work with those engineers and work on those programs because those were just such amazing cars, and the people behind the scenes that most people never hear about or know about are just such passionate car guys, and to see that and to know that level of passion and care that goes into the cars is what is part of the magic that makes those such great cars to own and drive. So to be behind the scenes and be a part of that was an amazing privilege and a really special time. And we've done a lot with Ford, and it's been great opportunity.
It's such an iconic brand you get to work with, and just every series you've done just about doesn't matter if it was WEC, IMSA, or NASCAR. You get to work with Ford just about everything. It's hard to beat that. People, love the Mustangs.
For sure. And I love Mustangs too. Won a lot of races in them, and it's so great to see like American cars across all the brands do what they are able to do today. Growing up, I was more of a European and Japanese fan, and didn't really have as big of a. There was a few Ford cars and also like the Viper that I was a big fan of as a kid, but as a whole, if you looked across every product line, I was more like JDM and European. But and the last 20 years or so, 15, 20 years, American brands, especially Ford, has just done an amazing job. It doesn't matter whether it's the baseline entry-level vehicle on up to supercars. American brands are doing world-class stuff, and as an American, it's super great to see that.
Your first year in 2016, that was the first year of the new GT, and you were getting to work on it. How big was it that year to get to be one of the first drivers for Ford coming back to Le Mans 50 years later?
That was just a huge honor. If that's probably the best way to say it, is it was an honor, because as the Ford versus Ferrari movie came out and introduced a lot of non-car people to motorsports, even prior to that, it was just one of the best racing stories of all time. And for Ford to say, hey, we're going back 50 years later and we're going to win this race is a pretty huge effort and a big statement. So to be a part of Ford, to be a part of Multimatic, and to work with them on the development of the car was just an amazing experience, tons of fun, and the whole program was a success. Like the 68 car won 50 years later, and it was special to be a part of that team. Although my car finished fourth, it was great to be there as a competitor as well.
And that's, Le Mans is just one of the special races of the world. Even not getting on the podium, that's still like a podium itself, just getting the opportunity to drive at such that iconic race.
Definitely. And to be able to race in the WEC series for all 4 years of the program. We won the 6 Hours of Spa in 2018. That meant a lot to me as well, because Spa is just such a iconic track. And to win in the Ford GT was really special. But for me, I think the most special part of that whole program was when Edsel Ford, at the end of the 2016 Le Mans race, grabbed me by the shoulder and he's like, "Billy, I'm sorry your car didn't win, but I really appreciate everything that you did to be a part of this program, be a part of the development, and you were a big part of this success." And that really meant to me, because he was there as a kid 50 years prior in 1966. So that moment probably is will be cemented in my brain as just such a heartfelt, special moment to me.
Right, which, like you say, obviously getting that recognition from something that big is huge, and seeing the effort that you put in get recognized in that great measure is even more huge, I'm sure, to you as it is to anyone, with knowing that you ran such a great race at Le Mans, obviously not on the podium, but still your team as a whole was winning the race. So
oh, for sure. And like, it was a pretty controversial race. Like, my car, we were right there in the top three, and we had a penalty for our number board not being lit up. So we had to come in to fix that, and lost a lot of time, and that lost the race for us. And then later on, the Ferrari that finished second, they had a similar position indicator lights that weren't working, and they were required to come in and pit too. And they didn't listen to the penalties. And then at the end of the race, it was penalties were laid out at the end of the race. But if we didn't have to come into the pits, and or if they received the same penalty, or the penalty they should have gotten, or if they actually had to fix it like we did, who knows? There's a couple different scenarios that would have seen Ford 123 again in 2016. So yeah, it definitely was an exciting, fun race. Our car was super competitive, and we had the performance and ability to be on the podium. But it was just real special, and great for Ford, because in racing, like, it's a bit presumptuous to be like, we're gonna go win this race. But that was the mindset of everybody at Ford. It's like, man, like, this is a big thing to come back. It was a huge effort to build the Ford GT, to bring it back to go race at Le Mans again. And it's like, Le Mans, the saying goes is Le Mans picks its winners. So you could be as prepared as you want, you could be as good as you want, you could have the best car, but the best car, team, drivers don't always win at Le Mans. So for luck to go our way, Ford's way, enough to have two cars on the podium, it was just an amazing, great accomplishment for the entire effort.
And in a lot of ways, 2016 mirrored 1966, and a lot, thinking about it.
A lot more than you would think. And I think the more you dig into the history of the 1966 race, the more you dig into the history of 2016, there are an astounding amount of parallels. And there's been books written about both of them. And there's even more information behind that information that shows those parallels. So that's what just makes the whole program, that 50-year span, so interesting, is all those little nuggets and Easter eggs.
right, which you drove the GTE car and the GT3 as well, which obviously to us from a viewer perspective, we kind of see them similarly and everything. But what's some of the differences as a driver that you can see inside the car
Between what again?
the GTE and GT3?
So that is a interesting thing with how the rules were. When we were racing in 2016, there was the GT3 class, and there was a GTE. So the four GTs were in the GTE class, and those cars did not have ABS. They had more restricted rule book that they had to build cars for. And GT3 cars were fairly close in performance. They tend to have more horsepower and more brute downforce with bigger wings and splitters and stuff like that, where GTE, and also they have ABS, and they're that GT3 class was more geared towards gentleman drivers. So while GTE cars it was a pro class, pro everything. In some ways, maybe a little bit more difficult to drive or to get speed out of them versus the GT3s, which tend to have just more brute power and ABS and just an overall. I wouldn't call them more advanced at all because GTE cars were way more expensive and far more advanced. But a great way to say that is like GT3 is a more affordable way to achieve a performance with a more, you're allowed more this, more that. And the cars got to a certain speed, while GTE is like, okay, your box is really small, and all the manufacturers had to throw tons of money at that to make that disadvantage on paper box go faster. So the Ford GT did race in the GTD or GT3 class when it was racing in when I drove for the European team when we brought the European cars over to the 24 Hours of Daytona, the 12 Hours of Sebring, and then also the Chip Ganassi USA cars that just competed in him. So the whole series were under that kind of pre-GT3 classification. So it was a little bit hazy. And then the GT class did go away. And now across pretty much all motorsports globally, GT3 is the world classification for these style cars. Like you even see DTM cars are now GT3 cars.
Right.
And ultimately, that's kind of what X that class, sort of the cost of it. It was costing just teams and manufacturers too much money to keep supporting them. And like you said, GT3 is a more cost affordable for the teams. And now you're seeing the big factory teams move to GT3 because it's more cost efficient to them, and they're able to run still pro cars with full pro lineups and then run pro-am cars as well.
Absolutely. So GTE cars were just so insanely expensive, and the formula for GT3 makes a lot of sense. And I think it was a good decision for the FIA and for all the manufacturers because since they've done that, and that was another thing. There was like ACO and FIA were the two main driving forces behind the classifications and what the rule sets were that the manufacturers had to abide by. But with the consolidation of FIA, ACO, IMSA, DTM, and all these global series of going to just one specification, now you see more manufacturers in there. And I think that was a great move where you now have the Ford Mustang GT3s, you have the Corvette, you have the Porsche, the Aston Martin, the Audi, the Mercedes, Lamborghini, Ferrari. I could just go on. And Toyota's coming out with their new GT3 car, front engine vehicle that you see in spy shots. So Lamborghini, you see so many manufacturers and so many cars in the fields, and that's the most important thing. Is it's not exciting racing or as fans if there's only like 10 cars out there, but when you have those big fields with different kinds of cars, that's what makes it entertaining and fun to watch. And it was great to see that global change to a GT3 class.
And I think that's helped a lot in the development of sports car racing, moving to that more cost-efficient way to see more manufacturers. You look at the sports car races now, the crowd counts are bigger than ever, not just in the paddock on teams, but the fans, because I think the fans like it a lot more because, like you say, the same Mustang they see race or the Porsche or the Corvette, you can go out and buy the same car. So it kind of goes back to like way racing used to be, a win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Absolutely. And all the manufacturers being a part of it, the cars being there, and then the shift towards GTP and having those prototypes look more like a road car, or at least have some pretty significant design cues and elements that make them look like that's the Ferrari, that's a Porsche, that's a Lamborghini, and that's a Ferrari. Having that kind of visual language and association or makes people relate to that better. And it's great to see so many manufacturers go into the GTP class. And between that and the GT3 classification, we have bigger car counts and, as you said, more fans there watching. So it's great to see motorsports going in this direction.
And with Ford coming out with their new prototyper, have you been involved any with the development of it?
Unfortunately not, but it's great to see Ford announce that and also be competing in that classification as well. So that just goes to show that these formulas are a positive thing for the manufacturers and the fans.
All right. Do you think you could potentially see yourself driving that prototype at some point in the near future?
I would love to, but just like anything else, there's so many things behind the scenes that have to be done. But I was in the right place at the right time for the Ford GT program, and that was really, really special. And I'm very honored to have played a small part of that story. And you never know what the future will hold. Still doing a lot of racing, and yeah, like I couldn't have predicted to be a part of the GT program. I was one of the development drivers initially, and then I believe I was one of the last, if not the last named driver of the 12 who were running the 4 cars. So you never know, but what the future holds, and it's just an exciting time to be in motorsports for sure.
Right. Which this will be our final question for you here, and we'll let you get back to whatever you're doing throughout your day. But what would you say the development process when the next gen for NASCAR was coming out and getting introduced? Because you were a part of that as well.
Yes. So the next gen car, and also for NASCAR, they stuck to a formula that was like half a century old of the truck arms. And if you don't know what a truck arm is, I didn't know what a truck arm was because I'm a little bit older than you guys, but I've never seen that kind of suspension on a car ever because it was on like a 1950s truck, and it is a the rear suspension arm is like 4 feet long, and it connects the rear axle. And for pretty much all of NASCAR until that next gen, they were solid axle cars. And then they had this long suspension arm that bolted right behind the driver's seat in the center of the car. And I can't even recall any like production car or sedan or anything, even back in the 50s or 60s that ran that. But it was just this obscure, weird thing that the car NASCAR, their specification and what they did, they kept that all the way up until recently, and that made the cars drive weird. Um, yeah, they were still four-speed H pattern transmissions. So there's a lot of stuff that stuck around. Heck, they were carbureted until I can't remember the exact year, but maybe between 2025 now, maybe 10, 15 years ago, they're still carbureted in the after the year 2000 when nothing, even lawnmowers are fuel injected now. Maybe not, but motorcycle, I bet there is a lawnmower that is, but it's just insane that like a top level of motorsports still had carburetors in the 21st century. But they got rid of that. They went to fuel injection on Cup. I think Xfinity's still in carburetors, but for the next gen, they went to an independent rear suspension. They went to a transaxle, so the transmission's in the back of the car, and that spec of the next gen is kind of like the GT cars from like the early 2000s. So with having race GT cars in the early 2000s in that kind of design, two frame cars, I was hired by Roush Fenway Keselowski to help them understand that car and to test it. So I worked with them on the simulators. I worked with their engineers to develop test plans, and we figured that car out. And one of the first road races of that car was at Sonoma, and Chris Buescher finished second. He was right there, was leading the race a lot, and just got snookered there at the end. But we had a very competitive car. So yeah, it's great to see NASCAR modernize that car. Of course, there was a bunch of teething issues, as anything new has, but yeah, you see more NASCAR road races, which again, as a a road course guy, and also from a fan standpoint, that's why they're doing more road races, because they are entertaining. So, yeah, it's good to see NASCAR modernize the car like that, and just overall, yeah, motorsports is going in a good direction.
And plus, with the new NASCAR, like you said, it drives similar to a GT car, and you're able to see more of these drivers from other forms of road racing come in, like Shane Van Gisbergen and Jenson Button. You know, the list goes on of now a lot of names that are wanting to get involved in NASCAR. So it really helps, I think, the sport grow too. And plus, they're coming out there, and the new cars are they're super competitive, and they're able to, be in contention for a really good finish, even when they only run a handful of races out of the season.
Definitely, and that was another thing when all the teams were building their own cars. So much money went into making those old truck arms work. So much went into making those custom chassis that much more competitive. And while a spec series is a little bit of a double-edged sword in terms of having the same equipment like IndyCar, it does lead to more close racing than when you look at Formula One, where you can have a big disparity of performance, or even the old classifications of prototypes when Audi was dominating everything, and even sports car racing. When you tighten that box, it can be good in many ways. It can be bad in many ways. But when the car counts go up, when the fan base gets bigger, that's the true determination of success, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's great to see the crossover, and see sports car drivers, Formula One drivers doing NASCAR, doing sports car racing, and yeah, it's really cool to see.
Right, which obviously I want to thank you again for joining us on the show.
Absolutely.
We wish you best of luck for the rest of the season and the seasons to come. And we'll be at Road Atlanta later on in the year, so we'll see you there.
Well, thanks again for having me, and for Road Atlanta, come on by. Even if I look busy, stop and say hi. It would be great to see you guys in person.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. We appreciate the coming on, Billy. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye.